What's up, YouTube family? What's up, fight fans? And we're back at it with another edition of Round 1 Sports TV. Let's talk about this. Look, if you're here and you're tuned into my channel, then you already know that I'm going to give you a different view and a different insight that most people haven't seen, right? And I'm talking about the Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury fight. Did he win or did he lose? And I'm going to tell you the truth about what happened in that ring and some of the things that really need to be observed and talked about real quick on where Tyson Fury lies and where Francis Ngannou lies. So without further ado, please join me, stay with me. Let's watch this video. Give the video a like. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Well, Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou finished their epic fight out in the desert, and let me tell you, it was something else. Many spectators coming into this fight did not ever see Francis Ngannou putting up that kind of performance against our WBC world champion of the world, which many people leading into this fight were already throwing around hints that he's better than Muhammad Ali. And why shouldn't Tyson Fury be on a pound for pound list? I wonder why. Well, coming into that fight, he even took to social media and disrespected Francis Ngannou by admitting that he already signed the contract for December 23rd date against Alexander Usyk, right? Then they said, Tyson, keep that on the wraps because then you're just like disrespecting Francis Ngannou, overlooking him. And I believe that's exactly what he did. But I'm not going to say that he overlooked Francis Ngannou to bring down Francis Ngannou's performance, because that has nothing to do with Francis Ngannou. Guess what? He showed up. He showed up so much, in fact, that after the fight, Tyson Fury was like, look, I'm coming off a year layoff. So he's insinuating that he had ring rust, year layoff. Okay, we all heard ring rust. We all know that when our favorite fighter takes a year off, that sometimes his performance drops a little. You know, okay, let's take that into consideration. Talk on, Tyson Fury. And that after the fight, that December 23rd date, that he publicly went on and said, if he pulls out on that date, I will sue him. Those are the words that came out of Tyson Fury's mouth. I'm not making any of this shit up. Okay, talk on, Tyson Fury. Then after the fight, he said, that December 23rd date, no, I'll see you next year. Meaning, it might not happen on December 23rd, but it might happen the following month. I don't care when it happens, long as we get to see that fight. Okay, so all those points, I said, okay, had merit. Right? And that Tyson Fury secured the victory. Look, I went back, not being a prisoner in the moment, and by point systems, I understand where maybe sometimes people would observe and say the guy being knocked down should have won that fight. Okay? But Tyson Fury edged out a lot of those middle rounds with his jab. And he was just landing effectively with the jab. I believe that Francis Ngannou won the night, but Tyson Fury won the fight. Okay? Francis Ngannou needed to close the show, but his lack of inexperience of ever being in a fight of this magnitude on your first professional boxing match, you know, to close the deal, that comes with experience. When he should have, you know, had he just done a little bit more in that 10th round, and I believe that those judges, on further look, those judges did score that fight fairly well. One of them with the, you know, that one extra point south of the equator, but still, it was a pretty fair judge fight when I further went and looked at it. Okay, so for Tyson Fury's argument leading into this fight and after the fight, those were the things that were said out of his mouth. Okay, Francis Ngannou. Wait a minute. Francis Ngannou has not fought in 18 months, not a year. He's coming off knee surgery. And I believe the last time he fought was in a mixed martial art fight in the UFC. He's never had a boxing match. So you mean to tell me that Francis Ngannou has the cure for ring rust? Can come into a fight, learn your fight on his first shot, and challenge your best fighter, arguably better than our great Muhammad Ali, that should be top pound for pound fighter in the world. So, according to you guys, a guy that can change a sport can beat the best pound for pound fighter in the world, the heavyweight champion of the world, the greatest fighter to ever live as a heavyweight fighter that can beat all our legends. This guy came in, put up that kind of performance. I don't think so. I've been trying to tell you that's why I don't put heavyweight champions on the pound for pound list. I've been trying to tell you that sometimes, Tyson Fury is good. Alexander Uzi is good. And heavyweight champions, bro, by default, you have the most prestigious belt in all of boxing. Keep them out of the pound for pound equation. They are good, but their measuring stick is measured by only heavyweights. The entire rest of the list on the pound for pound list, their measuring standard is based off every division and every other fighter. Terrence Crawford, Naoya Inoue, when you judge them, you're judging them by every fighter in all of boxing. When you judge Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury, you're only judging them by the heavyweight standard. It's not fair. So, the reason why this wasn't sanctioned as a WBC heavyweight title, and I want to bring this to the forefront, why some people are confused, was this a heavyweight championship fight or was it not? Look, they have a WBC title in the ring. They gave it to Tyson Fury. I thought this wasn't heavyweight. What's the confusion? Let me clear everything up right now. Okay. What happened was, leading into the fight, when Tyson Fury announced his opponent was going to be Francis Ngannou, which I thought they were helping each other out in the sport because, Francis Ngannou wasn't getting the money. He had the fight with the UFC. He left there. He put everything on the line, and I felt like it was one athlete helping out another athlete. But Tyson Fury, in the back of his mind, was like, yeah, I'll help you out because I want to embarrass you. I want to beat you on a world stage to prove to everybody, to all 7 of my kids, my wife, my father, everyone. When we are sitting at home watching Francis Ngannou beat up people, he's on his couch. He's like, I can beat that guy, right? So he wants to drag him in, help him, but under the pretense so that he can knock him out in front of his friends and family on a world stage and make highlight reel videos about you. That's what Tyson Fury wanted to do to that man, okay? So what happened was, when the WBC heard about his opponent, the WBC did not want to participate in this. They was like, hold up. You might have the WBC world title, but let's not forget, you work for us. That's our belt. And you don't get to decide what you do with our belt because that belt represents our organization. So it's not like, they want to keep it prestigious. So they said, how would it feel for all the other heavyweight contenders that have been coming up in the division, in the ranking, for this guy on his first fight, because you say it and you deem it so, that he gets a crack at our world title? It doesn't work like that, Tyson Fury. He wasn't qualified. He wasn't ranked. He does not earn the right to fight for a WBC world title. So they did not sanction it as a world title. And they sanctioned it as a 10-round fight. But at that time, no one knew where the fight was going to be at. There was no venue. Then all of a sudden, the Saudis jumped in. They built a whole new, brand new stadium in 90 days, which is incredible, okay? All this money was thrown around. All the legends in the game were invited, all because these people flipped the bill, okay? Then all of a sudden, the WBC saw how big of a spectacle and of event it was going to be, that they say, wait. We'll make a trophy belt. A trophy belt to collaborate and honor this historic event. So the WBC came back into it. Although they would not agree to sanction it as a heavyweight fight, they said, but we'll participate. Anything to get notoriety for the WBC, right? Okay. So that's what that was. That belt that they put around Tyson Fury, it was more like a trophy belt, a decorated belt that, it's not considered a world championship, but it was made by their organization to honor this event. That's all that was. Okay. So just to clear up the confusion on that. Now, sometimes in boxing, I've talked about world titles. I've talked about super world titles, interim world titles, but I've never talked about this. Okay? What's the difference between getting an interim world title and why some champions and fighters will not fight for an interim world title at no point in their career? Fighters like Naoya Inoue, Floyd Mayweather. When Floyd Mayweather went up against Shane Mosley, he beat him for his interim title. He didn't accept the interim title. He didn't take Zab Judah's interim titles neither. A lot of fighters are not quick to take that interim belt, because the minute you take that interim belt or you fight for an interim title, you're kind of locked in the interim world champion. Have you ever noticed the interim WBC world champion never fights the super world champion? When's the last time you've seen a WBA interim champion fight against a WBA super? What happens in the business is they don't want to put them to fight, because when one fighter wins, that eliminates one of their belts. You're only getting paid one time that night. The super champion is not going to accept the interim belt. That would be going down for him. Why would he accept that? And if the interim guy loses or wins, let's say the interim guy wins, why would he hang on to the interim belt and pay 2 sanctioning fees for 2 belts? He just won the super. You see? So business-wise, it doesn't work for the organizations. And then you get trapped in an interim belt. Now they want you to represent their interim belt. Start defending interim belts. There are fighters right now that have 4, 5, 6 title defenses on an interim belt. How the hell are you defending an interim belt? The interim belt was established for you to get it. Your next fight should have been against the champion. But you see how far and how different boxing is? Bro, you can defend an interim champion 100 times. How the hell? It's ridiculous. So that's why some fighters do not attach themselves to interim belts. So, that being said, Francis Ngannou's future from here and Tyson Future's future from here. So we all know that he backpedaled on the date now. Now he's no longer saying that it's December 23rd, that he'll probably see him next year, at the beginning of the year. Okay, I hope that we get that fight then. I believe that this is a real eye-opener for Tyson Fury, because every time he comes out with one of these lackluster performances, what happens the following week? We see the best version of him. I believe if he fight Alexander Usyk, he's going to beat him. Because styles make fights, and he's just that much bigger. We saw that he could not bully Francis Ngannou because of his body mass. For the first time, he wasn't laying on a guy. Francis Ngannou was like, yo, you ain't pushing me around, and in fact, he was pushing him around back. So that took away a big part of Tyson Fury's arsenal. That's part of his fight plan that makes him successful in a lot of his fights, that he can bully his smaller guy. Now, but styles do make fights, and I believe that Francis Ngannou has a future in boxing, but I wouldn't put him up against some boxers because, like I said, for instance, styles make fights. I would put Francis Ngannou against like a top 15 boxer, and there's some of the guys that are in the top 10 that I would put him against, but there's some I would not, like Anthony Ruiz. I would not put Francis Ngannou against him. He's a much smaller heavyweight, a much quicker heavyweight, and he can box, and he hits hard. And I believe that would be a bad fight for a fighter like Francis Ngannou. But if you were to put him against like Big Baby, You were to put him against like some of the other heavyweights, the British guys, I think Francis Ngannou will fare very well. I would like to see Francis Ngannou fight Big Baby, like fighters like that, because he's headed up, and I believe that would be a better fight. But I would believe that if you put him in against a Ruiz, that would be a bad fight for him. You see? And that's where, so because styles make fights. And Ruiz is just, yeah. And I wouldn't put him up against like Deontay Wilder just yet. No, I wouldn't. No, but I would put him against Francis Ngannou against Anthony Joshua. Yeah, I would. So, but he has obligations to the PBL. So if you see him in the PBL next, leading into this fight, he had already signed the contract, Francis Ngannou. And I believe that they did help him in some ways in this. I'm not too sure on that, so don't hold me on that. But the PBL is seen that they had his back this entire time. But he has already signed to their organization. And when you got somebody like that, a cash cow like that now, because UFC kind of dropped the ball here. Had he still been a UFC fighter right now, the fight right now to make would be him against John Jones. The UFC would make so much money right now. It would be ridiculous. But yet Dana White kind of shitted on this guy. And they let him go and they didn't treat him well. They didn't pay him well. And that's a fumble for the UFC. That is definitely a fumble. Because now all his momentum is going to go to that organization. And that could spark that organization's. And all it takes is that one fighter in your organization, like Conor McGregor, to bring you out of the realms, So he could be that organization's Conor McGregor, I think that Francis Ngannou has a real future in boxing, but it's not a long future because let's keep it in mind, he's 36 years old. So how much time does he have? Had he did this when he was like maybe 30, right? And he did this shit when he was like 30. He had a little time. I don't know how much more time this man has, but he has proven that he is a superior athlete. And when you put your mind to something, this man was locked in, laser focused. And listen, he said to himself, I'm not going to learn how to be a 10-year boxing career in 4 months. Francis Ngannou said it. He said, I'm not going to learn how to be that. He said, what I got to focus on is some of the basics and some of the things that we see in key situation with Tyson Fury because he has film on him. That's what Tyson Fury did not have on his opponent. He didn't have any boxing film on Francis Ngannou, and it goes to show you when you just didn't have a plan. I mean, their plan was like, oh, just go in and fucking beat this guy in. This guy started fighting. He didn't know. And then did you see when they both were switching left and right? And Francis Ngannou was switching left to right pretty fluently, if you ask me. But according to the fight, if you're looking at this fight from the outside looking in and you're saying to yourself, Francis Ngannou knocked him down, that does not win you a boxing match. Unfortunately, it does not. It wins you that round. But there were 9 other rounds in that fight. And there were a lot of rounds that Tyson Fury was edging out because he knew he had more experience. And he said, this guy's giving me the most trouble. He's hitting me the hardest I've probably been hit in a long time. I can't bully him around, but I'm lulling him to sleep with these pop shots and stealing a lot of these rounds. Had Tyson Fury, Francis Ngannou had boxing experience, and his corner would have told them, you gotta make sure you win this round. Had he put a statement or a stamp on that last 10th round, I believe Francis Ngannou really wins the fight. But on a point system in boxing, Tyson Fury won that fight. He did. He won the fight. And I'll admit that. For as much as I wanted to get on today and be like, hell no, that shit was a robbery, bro. He didn't. Francis Ngannou lost the fight by man, had he just on the 10th round, man, in that 10th round, And 2 punches, man, 2, 3 punches, he wins that fight, bro. That's how close it was. If he would have give him like just a stiff 1-2, doom doom, he wins the fight. I swear to God, he wins the fight. Yeah, but that's where boxing experience and U.S. experience lies. Francis Ngannou knew that he was losing that fight against Cyril Gane, and he made an adjustment in that fight and took him to the ground because he was in his world. On this night, he was in a boxing world, and in his head, he must have been feeling real good knowing that he made it to the 10th round. He knocked down the heavyweight champion. In his head, he won. He doesn't want to take any risk. But what he didn't know was the fight was much closer. And he needed to take initiative in that 10th round in order to win that fight. And had he done that, he walks away with the victory. And I don't have any argument right now. Good that Francis Ngannou somehow, some way, his stock rise on a loss. Okay? I mean, it was the best thing. And the status quo stood that Tyson Fury didn't lose. He still got his O, leading into a massive showdown. So I think that this did a lot for both of their careers. And then it did a lot for the sport. I believe the only loser here tonight is the UFC, unfortunately. Because they got no horse in the race now. And if you're going to be, the leading wide world of sports, the top sports, which are football, baseball, basketball, hockey, and soccer wants to come in there with the tennis. But, we all know what the 4 major sports are. And UFC is coming in, and boxing, and they're trying to get in. And I think the only loser that night was the UFC. Listen, if you like my videos, please subscribe to the channel. I'm always going to give you a different look, a different insight. And I can't wait to see the Alexander Usyk fight, with Tyson Fury, because I always know when Tyson Fury puts on these lackluster kind of performance, that next fight, bro, he is going to dominate Usyk. I got Tyson Fury in that fight. If that fight ever happens, let's see what happens, okay? But, yeah. Oh, yeah. It stands to be interesting. So, fight fans, I just wanted to make a video, talk about that a little bit. Let me know what you think. Where does Francis Ngannou go from here? I mean, I know he's going to go to the PBL, but should he stay in boxing? I don't even think somehow he should get out of that PBL contract. And I'm telling you, the next boxing match, if he secures a boxing match, the next one, he'll make way more money than he would ever in those 2-3 fights he has signed in the PBL. I believe so. So anyway, please give me a like. It helps the channel grow. And like always, I'm on to the next one. Peace.